To politics now, and this holiday weekend is bringing no respite from controversy for the president.
Yeah, two stories brewing on this Christmas Eve. The first involves the president taking aim at the deputy director of the FBI on Twitter. The second, an explosive report in the New York Times alleging the president made derogatory comments about immigrants in the Oval Office. And ABC's Kenneth Moton joins us from Mar-a-Lago, Florida. Kenneth, good morning to you.
Good morning, Dan and Mary. White House officials spent the first full day of the president's holiday vacation tackling these allegations they call outrageous. This morning, the White House fighting back claims President Trump allegedly made derogatory comments in the Oval Office about immigrants.
The most sacred duty of government is to protect the lives of its citizens, and that includes securing our borders and enforcing our immigration laws.
The New York Times reports Trump stormed into the Oval Office in June, enraged over immigration numbers showing how many immigrants had received visas to enter the United States since he took office. The Times says one source in the room and another who was briefed later claimed the president said the 15,000 immigrants from Haiti all have AIDS. Last year, candidate Trump pledged support to Haitian Americans.
I really want to be your greatest champion, and I will be your champion, whether you vote for me or not.
Trump also reportedly said that once 40,000 Nigerian immigrants had seen the U.S., they would never go back to their huts in Africa. Trump widely criticized for comments about other immigrants in the past.
They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists. We are going to get the bad ones out. We are throwing them out of the country.
The Times reports that tempers flared in the meeting full of top officials, including Secretary of State Rex Tillerson and then Homeland Security Chief John Kelly. Several people in the meeting also told the Times they did not recall the president using those words and did not think he had. White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders strongly denies Trump made the remarks, saying in a statement it's both sad and telling the New York Times would print the lies of their anonymous sources. Trump's silent on the report, but he fired up Twitter to attack FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, who is reportedly retiring in March. The president tweeting McCabe is racing the clock to retire with full benefits. Trump has accused McCabe of bias after his wife's Virginia State Senate campaign received money linked to a Hillary Clinton ally. The FBI says at the time McCabe consulted with Bureau ethics officials about the contributions. Some GOP lawmakers also alleging anti-Trump bias within the Department of Justice have also targeted McCabe. Last week, he spent 2 days on Capitol Hill being grilled for hours behind closed doors by 3 congressional committees. Dan and Mary.
Kenneth Moton reporting in from Florida. Kenneth, thank you to you. For more on all the political news this morning, let's bring in our chief White House correspondent, Jonathan Karl, who's in Washington, where he will be hosting this week later this morning. John, great to see you.
Good to see you. Merry Christmas, Dan.
Yes, Merry early Christmas. So let's talk about these attacks on McCabe. Do you see them as part of an effort to discredit law enforcement in advance of whatever charges may or may not be brought by the special counsel, Robert Mueller? As you know, the president, and I believe he said this to you, that he has no plans to fire Mueller, but there's this rising anti-Mueller chorus on the right.
There sure is, but I don't think this is part of a larger strategy because the president's own legal team has tried to discourage him from making these kind of attacks on the FBI and on the special counsel. I think the president is simply angry about all of this. He, in his view, the entire investigation, including the special counsel investigation, is a witch hunt. If he wanted to do, just kind of run from his gut, he probably would fire the special counsel, but he has been advised strongly against that, not just by his legal team, but by virtually every Republican leader in Congress.
And John, let's talk about this New York Times story about the president's alleged derogatory comments about immigrants. What's the real likely impact of this? Does it just rile up those who already don't like the president while his supporters simply dismiss it as more fake news?
Well, first of all, it's important to point out that the White House is adamantly denying this. You heard what Kenneth reported. They also say that others that were in this meeting, including Secretary Tillerson, Chief of Staff John Kelly, H.R. McMaster, the National Security Advisor, all deny that the president used these words. But one thing for sure, Mary, is that the sentiment here that there are too many immigrants coming into the country from countries like Afghanistan and Nigeria, that sentiment, nobody is denying that the president believes that he believes that immigration is still out of control.
John Carl, always great to have your analysis. We really appreciate it. And once again,
it's good to see Mary Bruce up there, by the way.
She's acing it.
I mean, what's going on?
I got a little lost.
Merry Christmas to both of you.
Our game, though. Thank you, John. And again, Merry Christmas. Coming up on This Week, John is going to talk to one of the president's most prominent Republican critics, the outgoing Senator Jeff Flake of Arizona.
And I sit down with Congressman Charlie Dent of Pennsylvania. Both politicians are retiring next year and giving their unfiltered take on President Trump and the state of the GOP. That's all coming up on This Week.
We'll be watching. Thanks again to John.